Thanks for coming out. This is Denver's best kept secret. Everybody in the right space? Yeah. All right, very cool. How's everybody enjoying Startup Week so far? Good, right? Feels good to be back in person and have the energy where it used to be once upon a time. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Michael Beavis. I'm the Director of Innovation and Entrepreneurship for the City of Denver. I work in the Office of Economic Development and Opportunity. So the short version of that description is I say it's my job to create an ecosystem that allows entrepreneurs to thrive. So connections to programming, resources, mentorship, access to capital, whatever they need. I try to get them plugged into those resources, and if those resources don't exist, then I create them. And I don't do that alone, so that's why we have an amazing panel of people up here, my colleagues with me today to talk about some of the services that we offer here at the city, primarily to support business, right? And I guarantee you when you're done with this session, you're gonna say, gee, I didn't even know the city offers those kinds of resources. Gee, I didn't even know those departments existed within the city, right? That's why this session is called Denver's Best Kept Secret. Is Shelby in the room? Susan's in the room. I'm going to make a comment, I just don't want them to be offended. I just say that that's because we're a government agency, we're not a marketing firm. Right? So as business, we want to coach you on being good marketing agencies so that you can promote your services, promote your business, gain clients, that kind of stuff. Our team does a tremendous amount of work putting out fires as well as highlighting some of the cool things that we do. But just wanted you all to be aware of that. So with that, I'm just going to kind of kick things over, thank our sponsors. Right, there you go. For Denver Startup Week. I'm going to talk briefly about this space that we're in, and then I'm going to have my colleagues up here introduce themselves. So how many people have been in this building before? Okay. If you haven't been in this building before, this is the Commons on Champa. Right? It's been here for almost 8 years now. It is, in essence, free co-working space, right? And so the way that this works, the structure of this is what we call a public-private partnership. The city owns this building, and our partners at the Downtown Denver Partnership run the space here so that this space is free and available for entrepreneurs Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. You need a place to land, to open up your laptop, grab some free Wi-Fi, free coffee, free networking, grab a conference room to host a meeting, host an event. This space is here for you, okay? This space, it took a little bit of a dip, as you would expect during COVID. Post-COVID, we're back, right? So you can come into this building right now, Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. Use any of the Innovation Lounge space out there at all. Talk to the front desk people if you'd like to reserve a conference room and or host a kickoff event, a networking event, anything that you want to do, you can do right here in this space, okay? We have some additional resources similar to this that we're going to talk about in a minute, but I don't want to steal Rusty's thunder. So, Rusty, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and some of the resources that you offer.
Yeah, hello everyone, thanks for being here. My name is Loresty Ashley. I am the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Business, or for short, a project manager under the Innovation Entrepreneurship team at DEDO. I work directly under Michael. The programs that I run are mainly focused on closing the equity gap for BIPOC entrepreneurs and more specifically BIPOC tech entrepreneurs. So as Michael was talking about, this is a free co-working space. So I'm working on opening something similar in Park Hill. It will be an entrepreneur hub that will have free access to Wi-Fi, coffee. We'll be able to collaborate with other entrepreneurs. We'll have advisors there giving business advice and helping business owners during those times. And we'll also have a free event space as well. Within that, I partner with the New Community Transformation Fund to run the Herman Malone Fund, which is a fund that was created with 1% of marijuana tax dollars to create equity investments for BIPOC entrepreneurs here in the city. And then under that is a collective of businesses that we call the Collective for the Advancement of BIPOC Plus Businesses. That are created. It's pretty similar to technical assistance to help businesses who are not capital ready become capital ready so that they could qualify for that permanent loan fund. And so those advisors will be available in the Entrepreneur Hub in Park Hill. We are going to call that the Park Hill Innovation Hub, or PI Hub for short. And it'll have its own special place there in Park Hill. And then the other program that I run is called Tech Hub. And so, as Michael describes it, it's an accelerator, post-accelerator, and pre-accelerator, where entrepreneurs will be able to go in and get access to courses through DU. They'll be able to go through the accelerator with a partner that we work with called Access Mode. And then the post-accelerator is a program called Scale Up, which is not as intense as an accelerator program, but it really focuses on the mental health aspect for entrepreneurs who are wanting to scale and grow their businesses. And it provides them with the support and the camaraderie with other entrepreneurs who are going through the same thing so that they feel supported in order to scale and grow.
Cool, thank you. And so some of the things, just so you know, Rusty's feeling a little bit under the weather today, so she's asked that we make her all that and giggle as much as possible because it helps her cough a lot. She's been with us now a little over 6 months. Yeah, and she used to say when she first got hired that it was her job to implement my crazy ideas. But she's done a fabulous job of that, but now coming up with her own ideas as well in the process. So I want to talk a little bit about two things that we didn't touch on. So one is that here in this building and in the new facility, we offer what we call free advisory hours. So if you're a business at any stage of your journey, right, all the way from ideation up to the Fortune 500 types that say, hey, we, here at Denver is cool and we want to relocate our companies there, what do I got to do? We can help you with that. Right? And so through advisory hours, you can go online, you can book an hour of time through one of our experts. You're going to continue to hear more about from some of our other colleagues here about anything that you feel like you need support with your business, and we'll get you plugged into those resources. Okay? So you can start right here. So the theme for this building, the Commons on Champa, is if you're starting up, start here. Right? Our other colleague, Carrie, who works in our team, runs a program called Denver's Business Startup Academy, which is a tremendous online education platform, kind of like a pre-accelerator. If you're brand new to business, just getting started, all the nuts and bolts of what you need to do to establish a business here in Denver and kind of grow and scale that. And then the last program, which Leslie touched on, was a program that we run called, collectively we run this program called the Denver Scale Up Network, or DENSUN. And it's what I refer to as a post-accelerator program. So we're typically working with founders and CEOs of companies that have gone through an accelerator. It's not a requirement, but they typically have done that. They typically have already raised outside investment capital to the tune of about $500,000 to $3 million. They're typically generating revenue about $3 million a year or less, and they're just kind of stuck. And so we say the purpose of that program is to help them get unstuck and solve their three biggest pain points. So we just crunched some numbers this week. I'm going to try to remember them. But companies that have gone through the cohort in the past are now valued at close to $1 billion in assets. They've raised more than $450 million in outside investment capital, and they've created more than 1,300 jobs here in Denver. So we think the program's working. It's a completely free program, but it's highly curated as far as who we let into that program. Because we want to make sure that we have the resources to help you kind of grow and scale. And from the city's perspective, if we can help you become successful, you're going to create jobs, and that means everybody wins, right? So that's kind of the goal on that piece. So with that, I'm going to go down the line here to Alexis and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Alexis Nightingale. I am the Director of Forensics and Business Utilization with the Division of Small Business Opportunity. So that's housed with the DEDO as well. A little bit about myself. I'm a Denver native. I knew I always wanted to stay here, work here, grow here. I graduated from University of Colorado at Boulder. Go Buffs. Right there. So I grew up in 5 Points, Whittier neighborhood. I didn't really know what I wanted to do as I was growing up. go to the University of Colorado and they're just kind of like, pick a major, and you're like, okay, art history looks great, that seems fun. But then I graduated at the height of the recession in 2008, and I saw so many businesses that were in my neighborhood that I grew up with just close their doors. And so I realized I wanted to do something more in the realm of small business advocacy, and that's kind of how I ended up with Division of Small Business Opportunity. I was given my start with a small business owner. She was doing consultant work for a large contracting firm, and so I got in by way of her business. I ended up at RTD working in a small business office, and then an opportunity opened up with Division of Small Business Opportunity about 2-3 years ago now. And so I've been there ever since. But a little bit about what we do in the Division of Small Business Opportunity, and I could talk about it all day, but I won't.
I'll give you 15 minutes.
Once you have your business up and running and you want to work with the city, we are the ones that you want to connect with. As a small business in Denver, it's not that easy to get your foot into working on city contracts. Specifically, who we work with and who our target community is minority, women-owned, small, and disadvantaged business enterprises. You would come into our division, and what we would first want to do is get you certified. So we certify based off of social or economic disadvantage, and you would be in one of our certification programs. Once you are in a certified business with us, that's when we're able to provide opportunities for you to work on city contracts. You still have to go out for the contract, you still have to win the contract, but we help you to navigate that process, which is really, really important. The city and county of Denver is a beast, and it also includes the airport, which I don't know a lot of people realize. And getting work on these contracts is a daunting enterprise if you are coming in as a newbie to the system. Even for our veteran small businesses that also help to navigate and act as advocates for our newer small businesses, it's not easy. So we have 6 different certification programs. I'm not going to list them all because it'll sound like I'm just saying a lot of random letters at you. But just know that you don't have to be pigeonholed to one certification. You can, as many as you qualify for, we encourage you to get. So a lot of our certified firms, which we have about 1,300 right now in our pool of certified firms, they hold multiple certifications, which is really, really valuable. The reason that it's so important to get certified is because part of what my team does also, every city agency must come to DSW when they want to put out a city contract. They have to allow us to analyze that city contract to look for opportunities for our small business community. And so we will say, okay, this looks like a great opportunity for our minority and women-owned businesses. We're going to set a program requirement on that. That part of that contract must be allocated to minority and women-owned businesses. So if you hold that certification, which is an MWBE certification, you have an opportunity to work there. You have an opportunity to network with the larger firms that are going out for those contracts, or you can take advantage and try to win the contract itself. So that's really, really important to get certified. Part of what we do in the Division of Small Business Opportunity is go out and we do outreach and let everyone know about what we do. We have a compliance team that once you are on a contract, you're not just going to be left alone to your own, like, okay, great, you got a contract, good luck. Our compliance team is part of what enforces requirements and protections for our small business community while you are working with the city. So one of the biggest ones that we have is that it's a contractor prompt pay ordinance. So if you're a certified firm working on a city contract, you must be paid within 35 days of an approved invoice. And that's huge when you're working as a small business. You know, the cash flow is important. And sometimes, as we are government, it can take a while for payments to be made to larger contractors, and we just can't have that flow down to our certified firms. So that's a huge one. And our compliance team is there with you and provides oversight. You are assigned a compliance officer on whatever project you're on so they can advocate for you to your city PM. They can advocate for you to your prime contractor. We also can be an advocate to our small business community, to the mayor's office as well, and as well as city council. So that's, in a nutshell, what DSW does.
The abbreviated version. So everybody got that? So everybody say it with me because we really love our acronyms here. So DSW is a division of DEDO, and they focus on MWBEs. We got that? Okay. And I think I left out a couple dozen other acronyms, but thank you for that. So, all right, let's keep this conversation going. We're going to circle back around and get a few more questions answered. But Logan, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah. All right, good morning. I am so excited to be here to talk to you about something that I feel really passionate about, and that's workforce development. My name is Logan Grasstye, and I work in workforce development as the Workforce Board Liaison for the City and County of Denver's Economic Development and Opportunity Office. So basically, what does that mean? I get to work with a federally mandated board of C-suite professionals from high-demand industries like business, the trades, adult education, government, and economic sectors to give us industry insight, provide program oversight and advocacy of the workforce system here in Denver. These individuals are formally appointed by the mayor, and basically we're just passionate about connecting individuals to quality jobs and providing opportunities for training and education to the community. So some of you might be wondering, what is workforce development, or sometimes we're called workforce services. So just by raise of hands, how many of you think we're kind of a newer organization that started within the last 5 years? Okay, how about the last 10? A few of you. Okay, how many of you think we're older than 25? Ding, ding, ding. All right, so workforce development or workforce services has had different names over the years, but there's evidence that it existed as early as 1917. And actually, workforce development really took root in the aftermath of the Great Depression in 1933, when there were employment offices spread throughout the country. And then some of your parents or grandparents, if they were living in the States at the time, they may have participated in the CCC. It was like the Civilian Conservation Corps program, where they went out to these national parks and conserved them, and they were paid by the federal government to do so, which ultimately helped people get back to work and then just really helped the economy get back on its feet. So as the workforce developed over time, around kind of the 1960s, the federal government realized that there were some openings in high-demand industries and there was no talent to fill them. So the federal government set aside federal training dollars to help individuals go through these training programs and support these industries. Well, workforce development still exists today, so I want to tell you what it looks like a little bit here in Denver as it has continued to evolve over time. So basically, we work with 3 main groups of professionals. And the first group is job seekers. So remember how I mentioned around 1933 there were like these employment offices that started springing up across the nation. Here in Denver we have 3 workforce centers, and we actually have one out at the airport. So if any of you are flying out, be sure and stop by this Explorer and say hi. And then we have one that's about 2 blocks from here at the Wellington Web Building that you're welcome to visit before leaving Denver. But anyways, job seekers can access these workforce centers, and they can get job search assistance. We have coaches that can help them refine their resumes. We have individuals that can coach them on interviewing and help them prepare for interviews. And just in our last program year, our frontline staff provided over 50,000 services, unique services to job seekers alone. So those are just open to the community, anyone can access them, but we also have special programming for special demographics. So obviously we have adult programming, older adult programming. We also have things for immigrants and refugees, veterans, individuals with disabilities, and the list goes on. So that's the first main group of individuals that we work with. And the second main group of individuals that we work with are our contracted partners. So remember how I mentioned that in the 60s there was this need, and in the 30s there was like this Conservation Corps program? Well, guess what? The federal government is still setting aside money and workforce dollars for individuals to go through training programs. If you attended last night's session with our Tech P program, they talked about federal dollars that have been set aside to help individuals get certificates for coding, cybersecurity, and things like that, all at no cost to the students. So there are tons of programs out there, and we love to connect individuals to those programs to help you have a trained and ready workforce. Right now we work with about 14 contracted providers to help individuals access training so that they can obtain employment here in the city. And then the third and final group of individuals that we work with are individuals like you. We work with employers. So we actually have one entire team just in workforce development that is here to serve employers. And as you know, employers are facing unprecedented challenges. I mean, thinking about the effects of COVID-19, thinking about the Great Resignation, thinking about automation. I mean, how many of us in this room are doing a job that we weren't even, it didn't even exist when we were in high school. So just lots of challenges that employers naturally face with automation and as the workforce continues to evolve. But our team is led by Brett Walker and James Rowena, and it's no secret, Michael, if you're not connected with them, you should be. But they can provide you with a variety of assistance. And so if you connect with them, they're gonna first find out about your challenges and really offer some solutions. So some examples of solutions that our employer services team can help you with. Say you're having trouble with attracting talent, or you're having trouble getting people to apply for your jobs. So they can provide you with labor market information, which will ultimately tell you about trends in your industry, but they can also pull wage-to-wage comparisons and show how your wages that you're offering or putting in your job postings compare to those of your competitors. They can also talk to you about or review your job postings and look for bias, and they can teach you how to create a skills-based job posting that is inviting to all job seekers. Additionally, I mentioned these workforce centers, so they can connect you to different pools of people that maybe you're not already connecting with to attract talent and get talent for your industry. Also, they can create customized job fairs for you. They host virtual job fairs and job fairs in general. And actually just last month, we had one out at the Denver International Airport where over 500 people attended. So there are lots of services available to you. Additionally, they can talk to you about tax incentives that are offered to individuals who hire refugees and immigrants and veterans and other demographics as well. And then they can talk to you about just weekly advertisements that go out from the workforce to help connect people to the jobs that you currently have available. So to wrap up my whole speech today, I just want you to imagine with me for 1 second. All of you are at Denver Startup Week and you all have a challenge that your organization is currently facing. And I want you to think of that one challenge that you have. And now that you have it top of mind, I want you to imagine that you've paired with the workforce to obtain a trained and qualified group of professionals that are working for you. And I want you to imagine entering your first staff meeting and you notice that you have a bright-eyed intern on your left and you have a wise worker who is over the age of 50 on your right. And at one end of the table, you have an individual with a disability, and across from you, you have a courageous veteran. And on the other end of you, you have a reclaimed refugee. And I want you to think about the perspective that those workers could bring to the table to solve your problem and your solution. And that's what we're here at Workforce Development to do for you. We're here to help you overcome some of those barriers and those challenges and help you train a qualified and diverse workforce.
Wow, pretty amazing. Is anybody else's brain hurting from that? I just learned 10 questions that I should be asking workforce that I didn't even think to ask, so pretty amazing oversight there. I love that you mentioned some of the specialty populations. You have a session coming up later this week. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, what are you guys doing tomorrow, Thursday at 3 o'clock? I hope you'll join me at the Jake Job Center. Right now, across the world, there are over 108 million individuals who are displaced because of war and other things that are happening in those countries, including individuals who are Ukrainians and Afghanistans. And over 30% of those individuals have advanced degrees. Not only do they have advanced degrees, but they have experience working in those fields. So tomorrow we have a session where we can help you connect to individuals who are immigrants and refugees. They come to the States ready to work, and they are ready to help you fill some of your hiring gaps. So join us tomorrow from 3 to 4 at Jake Jobs.
Amazing population of talent that I think often gets overlooked, so thanks for sharing that. Before I introduce our next superstar panelist, she's superstar, you know, because she got to come in 20 minutes late. Before I introduce her, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Herman Malone Fund and funding streams that we offer through our department. So as Loressi mentioned, the Herman Malone Fund was created to help address a gap that we see in venture capital funding. We here in Colorado, but not only in Colorado, in the United States. So right now, less than 0.35% of founders of color get access to venture capital money in the United States. And less than 2% of women founders get access to capital in that space. So we wanted to create a fund to help kind of address that gap. And Rusty mentioned that it's coming from marijuana sales tax dollars. So yay us and our leadership for getting creative on how we're doing that. As far as we know, we're the first people in the country to do that. Hopefully other cities will follow along. That fund to date has invested in more than 12 businesses already in Denver, and we're next month we'll be sharing out some successes from that program. We mentioned the support that goes into that, and that was the supports through that CAD network were developed as part of about an 18-month-long journey with focus groups from the community that we wanted to serve to learn what some of the pain points were. And we feel like we built something that addresses some of those pain points, but we know that that work doesn't stop there. And I'm very pleased to introduce to you Dr. Melissa, who's from our partner university at DU. And she's going to talk a little bit about a current project that we're working in collaboration on to help kind of further address some of those pain points and how we can come up with additional resources to help support that. So, Dr. Melissa.
Hi, good morning. I am very sorry for being late, but if you knew where I parked, you'd actually be impressed. I'm from the University of Denver. I live south of the University of Denver, and rarely do I venture north of it. And my parking expedition led me to Metro today, so I walked here from there. Because I was too scared to try to keep looking for parking. So again, I apologize, and I am following after an amazing panelist, group of panelists here. But really, I'm here today to just kind of share some of the work that we're doing at the University of Denver and some of the resources that are available to all of you. Should you need any type of educational resources, student support. So I guess I'll start by introducing myself. I am a marketing professor at the Daniels College of Business, but I just began a role as the Associate Dean for Research in Daniels. And I'm really, really excited about this role because I think diversity is super important across all stages in our employment workforce, absolutely, in the founders that run the businesses in Colorado, but also in the research that we do to help support it. So one of the main initiatives that have come out of the last year with our current dean has been to support research and DEI initiatives. And one of the projects that he has supported with faculty resources and some financial resources is this expedition that we're working on with DEDO and Tara and SVP to explore the ecosystem in Denver, the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Denver, to specifically identify gaps for women and BIPOC founders in terms of growth funding. So the ecosystem here is vibrant and it's robust, and there are so many incredible actors throughout it that have incredible resources for everyone, including the women and BIPOC founders, but there's still a threshold that we have recognized and are trying to resolve, really. We're trying to, in order for us to develop robust and sustainable solutions, we have to first understand it, and that's where the research comes in, and that's what makes it so important in my perspective. So we've been working with an incredible group of entrepreneurs for the past 6-8 months maybe. We're halfway through collecting data for the first phase. The project is built out into 2 phases. Our first phase is really getting the lay of the land, which for me, I teach marketing, primarily I teach research, and I also run a research center, which I'll talk a little bit about later. But I'm actually very new to entrepreneurship, things like funding, like different sources of funding, different stages of funding, different ways in which people can access funds is all really new to me. So I actually come to this research project with a very naive lens, which sometimes helps and sometimes hurts. So my colleague, John Sebesta, who works for our entrepreneurship program, is really the boots on the ground, knows what's going on, knows how to ask the right questions when I'm like, what's that? And so he and I have been working together to develop interview protocols, focus groups, and with our amazing partners, have been talking. We have a group of 10 entrepreneurs who have gone through this, started this program. We have built out 4 panel sessions of funders. So our first funding group was our lenders, the bankers, those who are providing loans. The second one was alternative types of funding, microloans, and some social impact funders. Our last one was angel investors, and our final one will be VC companies. I hope I set up those correctly. Because again, this is all really new to me. But if you are interested in VC funding, please come and join us for our final panel at the University of Denver. I'm sure Michael can do that.
think it's October 15th, but we'll send out information.
Yeah, it's coming up. And we would love to have you all there. I have learned, but I think we have all learned a lot about the easy answer to this question is systemic bias, right? It's easy and hard at the same time. Understanding the roots of those systemic biases lead to lots and lots of different underlying problems and potentially a lot of different and distinct solutions. And so that is what we're working with these partners to find out in this project. So that's one of the research projects that I've been working on and very, very passionate about really exploring. We've had other types of research in Daniels focused on DEI case studies. I also co-direct a research center called the Consumer Insights and Business Innovation Centers. We have partnered this past year with Energize Colorado on 2 different projects. One was looking at the Women-Owned Business Survey to see how they were evolving in their needs through COVID. And the second one, we recently wrapped up working with Energize Colorado and a local DEI coach to understand the challenges of DEI coaches, independent DEI coaches in this space. And so again, we worked hard this past year really thinking through how can we rethink business, how can we rethink entrepreneurship, how can we make space for really, really important players in the market to help build up the market in different and more sustainable ways.
Great, thanks for that. Melissa, when we're done here, remind me and I'll go with you to your car and show you how to set your GPS system up to take you to parking lots other than universities. So you have more options, just more options lead to better opportunities. So, yeah.
I tried, I really tried, I tried.
I'm just kidding. You mentioned something early on in your discussion there about student support from students. So talk a little bit more about that and how some of the people here in this room maybe can look at things differently and take advantage of that.
Great, okay. Thanks for asking that question. So one of the ways that our student support is through the Research Center. All of our projects are student run. So I have a co-director, his name is Ali Besharat, and we scope the projects. And we generally charge we have this rough estimate of $100 an hour. We pay the students, it pays for our administrative costs, it pays for our support system if we need access to databases, interviews, those types of things. And we have a specific rate for entrepreneurs and those partnerships that we do through the university. We also work with the engineering schools, so some of their engineering students build technology, and when they have clients that come to them, so for example, Kong, if anybody has a dog, you know what I'm talking about, right? This brand came to us last year, wanted us to think about how do the engineers design a cat toy, looking into that market, and they wanted consumer insights, and so we put a MS marketing student on that project. That MS marketing student did a market analysis, competitive analysis, helped provide insights into the type of design the engineers designed it, and that was an example of one of the client projects that we've had. So we have smaller size scale projects, especially for our entrepreneurs who are looking to do market analyses or understanding specific customer base within the city. It's not easy to get local data for businesses, so we're happy to talk with you and think through what your needs are. In addition to our student projects, so those projects are scoped by Ali and I or some other faculty member that's an expert in that area, the type of methodologies that we use. We use anything from surveys to focus groups to secondary data to and ethnographies if we need to. And then we also have internships. So if you're looking for someone to hire, we also we have an internship program, and many of our interns go into startups and small businesses. Most of them are paid, somewhere between probably $17 and $20 an hour, but they are variable depending on what your needs are and the skill sets that you're looking for.
Great, thanks for that. Anybody here ever used an intern as part of your business? Yeah, good, right? Great resource. Amazing that the program that Melissa was talking about there is really interesting because universities have evolved and come a long way at working with the entrepreneurial community. It used to be if you wanted to work with the university and they were willing to work with you in return, they would end up kind of owning your IP in that process, and that makes it very difficult for you to get follow-on funding after the fact. And now that they've created models where it's like you pay a nominal fee, basically to get access to talent and technology and equipment that you wouldn't be able to afford, it's a great way for you to move the needle and move that forward. And Rusty and I can get you plugged into those resources if you need that support. So, Alexis, I'm going to go back to you and just tell us, you probably mentioned it, but I want you to hit it really hard. Why is it important for these businesses to understand the benefit of getting certification with your agency?
Sure, yeah. So certification is vitally important if you're a small business and you're looking to work with the city. Reason being is because we have many large contractors who will go out for projects. They could self-perform the work, right? But that's not what we're here to do. We're here to promote equity within the city and make sure that every city that works in Denver and all of our residents have an opportunity to work for City and County of Denver. What our certifications do is allow for that to happen. So essentially, we certify, like I said before, based off of social and economic disadvantage. We have 6 certifications, and 2 of them are specific to working out at the airport. But our local programs here would be our Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprise Program. So you can get certified as that based off of the ownership. 51% of the ownership must be certified as minority and women-owned business. We also have our Small Business Enterprise, and so that's based off of the size of your business. Our program that we have for our small business enterprises is called our SBE Defined Pool Program. What that is if my team says, this contract looks great for our small business enterprise community. If you are certified as an SBE with the City and County of Denver, you can go out for that contract. No one else can go out for that contract except for firms that are certified as an SBE. That really, really levels the playing field for our small business community, because the larger contractors can't come in and just swoop up that contract because they have all the resources to do so. We really want our small business community to be able to work directly with the City and County of Denver. It's great to come in as a subcontractor too, or subconsultant, but we want to offer those direct priming opportunities as well, because that helps your business to build capacity in a faster mode. Another one of our certifications that we offer is our Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. That would be related to projects that are funded by the federal government. So if there's going to be federal funding on our project, oftentimes we will set a DBE program. You're going to see a lot of those opportunities out at the airport. The airport receives a lot of federal funding, so you'll see DBE. You're also going to see our Airport Concessionaire Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program. That's what I'm saying, there's lots of letters. ACDBE. Ellie Bacon is here. She is our Director of Certification, and she is a wealth of knowledge as it relates to getting certified. Essentially what happens is you're going to, if you want to apply to become a certified firm, great. We will ask you on your application, what do you do? What is your scope of work? You're going to apply for however many work codes that you're qualified to work for, and then our certification team is going to come out and do a site visit with you to just ensure that yes, that is the work you're going to do, and then we will get you certified. Certification takes about 25 days right now, maybe a little bit less, from start to finish once your application is complete. Our city project managers and our prime contracting community have really gotten on board with DSW programs. I mean, it's sometimes an uphill battle to have our prime contractors understand the importance. It's not just a box to check. Just because there's a minority women-owned business enterprise component to your contract doesn't mean you just get to hire a few minority and women-owned businesses and just, give them a contract and use them as a pass-through. No, they need to be given meaningful work on your project. They need to be able to build capacity and grow their contracts with the city by working on your project. So you're going to, again, be given some opportunities to do some real meaningful work. And we have so many contracts within the city. I can also emphasize this enough. There are so many times we haven't been able to set a program on a city contract because we don't have enough firms in our pool of contractors. Like, I saw the other day there was like a great opportunity, and I wanted to set it for our small business community for videography. It was, we needed videography for some of our construction projects. Just to go out there, do some drone work. I don't know what you guys do out there, but we didn't have enough firms to make it competitive, so I couldn't set that program. And I know in the City and County of Denver, there are many videographers out there that could do that work. So things like that. We have catering companies go out to construction sites and have be the primary caterer for a construction project that's 3 to 5 years long. I mean, this is like really steady, good work with the city, and it's a lot of things that you may not think of. So we would never say you can't get certified based off your scope of work. That's not something that we would do. So I really encourage you to talk to Ellie afterwards and bombard her with questions if you need to. She's a great resource, and our certification team is growing, and they're all very knowledgeable as well. So we can give you information if later on something comes up and you just want to ask questions about what it takes to get certified and what it means to get certified as City County Denver.
Great, thank you. Melissa, I want to bounce back to you a little bit because our session is called Denver's Best Kept Secret, but we have no intentions of keeping the work that you're doing secret. So talk to us a little bit about what you envision for the final product and how we might use that as people who create resources here.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about thinking through the outcome of this. So right now we're kind of in the weeds of figuring out and really learning about what the resources are, how they're all connected, and they're all very, very interconnected, and there are a lot of resources. One of our first, so at the end of this year, we will present out sort of our initial early stage. Here's what we've learned this year from our entrepreneurs. So we are interviewing each of the entrepreneurs themselves to understand their journeys. And we will interview them again at the end of the year to understand what they've learned, how much they've, what kinds of gaps were in their mind before they participated in this program, before they had engaged with all of these different funding sources. But one of the ideas that came out of one of our conversations earlier from JP Morgan was that we want to get all the funders at the table. So instead of having separate funding conversations with the separate types of funders, it's pretty clear that in order for these solutions to really take hold, everybody has to kind of be on the same page with where we're headed. So bringing them in the room together to bring the data to them, to show them where all the pain points are, and to ask them how can we work together to build collaborative solutions to really change the ecosystem itself, I think, is part of that conversation. And the other part is really providing resources for entrepreneurs, for all of you, to be able to know where to go. There are so many, many resources in Denver, I have learned. So many amazing people really wanting to help. But depending on your specific needs, one entity or one agency might be more helpful than another. And so our goal is to create a map of the ecosystem so that we can better align and match really the founders with the funders with the additional resources that are available to provide information and education. I think we've learned also that the University of Denver can really serve as a educational resource for some of the content that's being built, some of the content that's being disseminated, and just kind of figuring out how we plug in more effectively into that space as well.
Great, thank you. The rest of that talk is, hopefully the audience is hearing the message that's coming out pretty consistently with all of our panels. We have a really strong focus on DEIA efforts, right, around providing resources and trying to level the playing field. I know one of the reasons you came to us is this is an area of passion for you. So will you talk a little bit about that? What you were doing before?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Denver, as some of you as well, on the south side, Ruby Hill neighborhood. And I've seen the diversity of the city shift out. And so when we're looking at ways on how to bring in more diversity into the city, that looks like bringing in more jobs and making it a more equitable place for all people to live in. And so when we're looking at the economy right now, we see how expensive it is to live in Denver. And so part of our work as well is to see how could we create those opportunities for entrepreneurs to create more jobs, to also bring in more diversity within their companies, so we can cultivate that back into the city.
Great, thanks. So we're so lucky that scored USC on our team. So Logan, what is your best kept secret? Resource-wise, workforce resource-wise, sorry.
Well, I listed off a variety of resources, and I was just touching on a few. So I feel like the best kept secret is that all of those are offered to you at no cost. They're offered to you at no cost. They are FREE. They're free. So we would love for you to come and connect with us.
Great, thank you. We got a few minutes left, so let's start taking some questions. What didn't we cover that you wanted to cover? Yeah.
Hi, Melissa. Thanks for being on the panel. Question would be, what's the time of inception for a project that we want to work with your students on to when it actually progresses, to when it's complete? How do we plug in there? And also, does it have to be just marketing, or can it be for developer resources, design, so many other things in the buff ecosystem that you might be a part of?
Okay, I'm going to repeat the question real quick just so it gets captured in the audio. So the question was around the timeline, typical timeline for working with the university on a particular project. and whether or not it can expand outside of marketing and other resources that might be offered there.
That's a great question. We run on a quarter system. So our quarter starts, we have a fall quarter, a winter quarter, and a spring quarter, and they're 10-week quarters. So it sometimes can be tricky to time with us, given that we want to make this a learning experience for our students, and frankly, it's difficult to pull projects in the middle of the term and things like that. For the research center that we have, it is possible to do that because we will hire students actually and we'll have like kind of a back burner of students who want to work on projects. These are more marketing, consumer insights, market research type projects. But we also have a lot of programs across the University of Denver that provides access to different types of student talent. So you asked about like developers. We have a computer science program, and I know they have a class project where you could plug into, and if you're interested in that type of resources, I know the guy that runs that well, and he's very, very, very awesome. His name is Matt Rutherford. Same as the engineers. So if you want to build some type of hardware, we have an innovation floor at the University of Denver, which is probably the coolest place on campus. It's basically a big, giant maker shop. It has 3D printers, it has sewing machines, it has woodworking machines, they have metal work there, they have etchers, things that etch metal, I guess. Clearly I don't know how to use the machines. But we have students that work there. We have our faculty that works there is Michael Kasten. So and they also have a senior design project. So the senior design project, if you're looking to build hardware, runs for an entire year. So it starts in the fall, ends in the spring. But if you have time, if you're working on building out products that are kind of have a time lag, this is a really great way to get access to resources. There are some costs for some of the programs depending on who's running them and how they're running, but some of them are also in-class projects. So also if you have marketing projects that you're looking for, and I'm sure many of you have marketing projects, because everybody has a marketing project, we have class projects in our marketing curriculum as well. I also happen to be the director of the MS marketing program, and I can tell you that we have some really amazing client projects in our courses. The same timeline though, we run those on quarters, on the quarter system. So if it's coming up in August, the end of the year, or somewhere in the beginning of next year, and you have a project that you want students on, especially if you're willing to open up your data to students to work with, we're always looking for really cool, interesting, impactful projects to put in classrooms in front of students. And these students are, in my program, are all graduate level students. Some of them are MBA students. Some of them are analytics students. So we have a lot of talent that's open for leveraging. It takes a little bit of coordination, for sure, for the quarter and the class projects, but those are generally in our program free. So if you have marketing projects and you have some time and you want to work with faculty, please also reach out.
Great, and now notice I didn't have to ask Melissa what her best kept secret is because it's more job titles. So any others that you want to share with us, Melissa, before we take more questions?
I think that's good.
You got them all? All right, more questions? Yeah?
Well, first of all, thank all of you for what you're doing, current impact, future impact. As an entrepreneur and founder, there's so much that you guys are talking about that you're doing, like it's busy. But is there like one person or someone that's going to talk to just to find out what combination of all of this stuff you do, I might be able to plug in what I'm doing?
That's what we're looking at.
That's what we're here for. So we're here for that. So the question was around, is there a central point of contact to help connect to some of these resources? And that's exactly what Loressi and I do on a daily basis. So I personally connect with over 1,200 individual entrepreneurs throughout the course of the year, and that's exactly what I do. So instead of me being up here and talking about it as an individual or having Loressi talk about it individually, I wanted to bring just a handful. We're not even scratching the surface right now on some of the resources that we can offer, but you can start with us and we can connect you to these resources. Yeah. Yes.
I'm sorry, I was late too. Parking metro. Is there a residency requirement at all for, I don't know, this was mentioned at the beginning, to get certified in order to work these types of programs?
So just real quick, I want to repeat the question. So the question was around a residency requirement in order to get certified.
No, there's not a residency requirement to get certified. Yeah, so I think, Ellie, is it that you have to have a presence, a business presence though?
Yes, so you need to either be in business actively for 6 months
or have local presence for 6 months before you can get certified. So you
So-
don't have to be a resident.
So in business for 6 months or local presence for 6 months to become certified.
And can I tack on that? Is this available for Denver Metro? Like, I'm in Erie, I work in Denver all the time, I have people in Boulder, like, is that applicable for this?
Yeah, so the question was around, is it centralized to Denver if you're based outside of the area and or you're working with clients outside of the area?
Yes, you can still get certified. If you have a local presence in Denver, but you have, are you saying so you have like business elsewhere outside of Denver if it's going to be certified?
I do a lot of business in Denver, but also in Boulder, and where my business address happens to be is actually in Boulder, it's not here. Do I have to move it then first?
No.
No.
No. The answer is no.
Yeah.
You can still get certified.
Just to add on to that, local presence also applies if you're doing work in Denver. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
also
Oh, okay.
important too.
Yes.
It's not
Even
just-
if I'm using the free co-working here, does that go?
Submit your application.
So Rita's opened the door now. I thought she was trying to fly underneath the radar, but she's the chief of this department. So
What's the best way to contact you?
I have a huge stack of business cards up here if you want to come talk to us afterwards.
Outside of talking to you guys individually, is there a website that has like filters so you can self-select into the right programs or resources that are out there?
Yeah, so the question was around, besides talking to actual humans, is there other ways for you to connect to the resources? So a couple of things that I would typically recommend for you to do is, one is you can go to the Denver Economic Development Opportunity webpage. And all of the departments that are up here have their own kind of segment of the webpage. For us, as an example, you would check on business, and there would be resources in there for business. And I'll be honest with you, it's really only touching on a handful of things that each of us offer, but it's definitely got contact information and a great way for you to get started. For entrepreneurs, what I typically recommend for you to do is also connect here to the Commons on Champa. So there's a website for that, and there's a programs tab in there. In that programs tab, we'll list things in there like our advisory hours. So if you want to book time with an actual human, you can do that. Any events or things that we're doing that host in this space, we offer things in here like what we call power hours, right? So marketing is an example. You want to learn about digital marketing. There's going to be a marketing professional who says, I'm just going to do a free lunch and learn kind of workshop. You can come in. It's typically small groups, so you get to ask a lot of personal direct questions related to your business, and it's 100% free. So look for those kind of calendar of events on that website. Yes?
There have been people who have been asking for contact information
Yeah.
from panelists.
Yeah, so I have contact information up here at the front. So afterwards, I'm going to break a little bit early, and we can do that, and I can share that information out with the DSW team, so we can list that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, first of all, thanks to everyone. I really enjoyed listening to you guys, your stories, and everything that you have to share. I'm an entrepreneur, you're working in the workplace safety. And you guys, as a early stage company, there is people, customers, and finance. Like the three things that we hear about the most. I think you guys covered all these different topics, but a couple of specific questions. On the finance side, are there any programs that the state of Colorado offers that apart from this debt or loan and equity options or any state grants? That's number one. The other is are there any opportunities to work with the city as a private customer or just more services?
So the first question was around grants. Is there other funding opportunities that aren't equity investment or debt financing through the state of Colorado? I'll answer that question. But the second question was around being able to work with the city, right? As having the city as a client. Is that what you're asking? Yeah. You take that one and I'll answer.
Yes. Short answer, yes. There are opportunities to work directly with the city. But that is what I was saying about certification, just honing in again. We have, if you are just now starting your company or have started recently, we also have an emerging business enterprise certification program. So we like to set aside certain contracts just for those types of businesses, if you're ABE certified as well. But there are so many opportunities that my team is inundated with procurements and solicitations and all city agencies coming to us saying, analyze this, are there opportunities, are there opportunities? There's so many opportunities. And again, it just depends if you may come on working as a sub-consultant or subcontractor, or if you're coming on to do direct work, with the city. But there are a plethora. I mean, we have set over 100, we set DSW program on over 100 contracts already this year. And I'm telling you, there has been so many that we've had to set no program on because we just don't have the pool of certified firms. So please, please, please get certified.
Only 100 slackers. So just to be clear, so all these resources that we're talking about up here are from the city of Denver, right? But a lot of what we're talking about does expand outside of that area, right? That being said, the cities typically don't do a ton in the way of grants, especially in the way of like new business grants or growth grants. There's some opportunities that happen to help stabilize neighborhoods or stabilize businesses in certain areas that are impacted by growth and things like that. But the state of Colorado does offer something called the Advanced Industries Grant. And that grant is for businesses in a variety of different kind of industry sectors and focus, and those grants can be upwards of close to $500,000. They typically require a matching component, right? So it's really good for businesses that are actively raising outside investment capital because it's really attractive to any potential investors because it's non-dilutive financing. Right? And oftentimes, depending on the project itself and the business itself, they may require you to work with one of the local university agencies to help kind of fully develop and flesh out your project. So that's typically where you see kind of economic development grants, if you will, through the state of Colorado. And what's nice about states is that they like to spread the wealth, if you will, right? So they don't always just stay focused in large metro areas like Denver or Boulder. They like to look for communities in rural neighborhoods and things like that. Yeah. Yes.
Is there a place that lists out the projects that y'all are referencing, where there's a lot of autonomy, micro-businesses to?
Yeah, the projects that were all kind of mentioned here will be on DEDO's website, right? So Denver Economic Development and Opportunity. So like all the certifications, all the workforce programs, all the programs that Loresty and I work on, they will be listed in the various sections of that website. The work that Melissa is working on will come out publicly once it's kind of completed. Loresty and I communicate out. If you're interested in participating in the focus groups and the discussions that we're having as part of this project, please let us know, and we'll include you in the calendar invites for that work as it goes forward, so you can kind of be in the know before it becomes public information. Yeah.
I can also send a list to Michael about kind of just resources at the University of Denver. I'll make kind of a cheat sheet for the programs I talked about, the student internships, class projects, those kinds of things. So if you guys are ever interested, I'll put contact information on that as well.
Great.
So follow-up question to the last question is, there's so many resources in Denver outside of the city. So is there any one entity, or maybe are you guys putting all the many resources that are available to people here in one place? Because I know there's Colorado Startups, there's Startups Colorado, there's like the city, there's a gazillion things happening. It would be really great to have like one calendar or one place where they all live.
So that's an excellent question. So again, back to kind of where is an easy, clean way for you to find access to the resources. Through the work that we're doing with DU, my long-term goal is to build a digital ecosystem map. Right, so I've been long kind of charged with this idea of creating something that you can go to, but we all are very aware that the second that you publish something, it's currently outdated, right? Because all the resources you listed, some of them are no longer in existence. There's 5 new ones that were added that you forgot to put on the list. So we want to make a digital tool to do that, and I'm currently researching some existing tools that live out there and some other cities that are trying to do certain things like that to learn some best practices. I have a vision for what this is going to look like, but it's not yet ready, right? So I say in my job, it's like herding cats. Right? So I'm trying to get everybody. But a couple of things that we're going to bring back to help kind of with this thing. So right as COVID was hitting, I created something that we called the monthly gathering, right? And we hosted that in this building. And the monthly gathering was to bring all those groups that you just kind of mentioned into the same space at the same time. So as an entrepreneur, most of you typically are still working a day job, still trying to manage a family and all this stuff that goes with it. Going to 6 different networking events a week doesn't sound very attractive, right? So we brought them all into this building for one night a month, right? So the monthly gathering. So on March 15th of 2020, we had 350 people in this building, and we kind of ran it every month like mini startup week, right? So you could just go there in a couple of hours and knock everything out that you wanted to learn. There was some educational sessions, etc. So March 15th, 350 people in the building. March 17th, this city shut down for COVID. We might have been a super spreader event, I'm not sure, but we're bringing that back. And we may pilot that here in the coming months at the new Phi-Hub Center that's opening.
I just wanted to add additional resource because I can't wait for that ecosystem to live, Davis, because we need that so badly. I would say also in the meantime, you have to do a little bit of work, but Energize Colorado has a network, if you will. It's not a network, it's a directory where you put in like the type of resource or service that you need, and they've done a pretty good job at being able to identify all of the different like nonprofits and resource partners that are out there.
Yeah, so Adrena was talking about Energize Colorado, which is a fabulous organization that was created in the wake of COVID to support businesses that didn't fall into one of the PPP buckets or EIDL loans or other resources that were offered through city and state agencies, mostly backed by private funding. They did a fabulous job of getting dollars into the hands of businesses that were in dire need and connecting you to resources and mentorship. And actually the tool that they're using is the one that I'm primarily looking at because it's the tool that we use here at the Commons on Champa to manage this physical space. We will be using it at the new location, and we're looking to kind of expand that once we have kind of a clear roadmap as how to build that. One last question.
I was just going to say, I'm with Energize. It's actually called the Resource Compass, so you can go online and see that. It has all the resources that you might need there. So.
The Resource Compass through Energize Colorado on the website, yes? Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll stick around for a little bit afterwards, unless, well, don't forget Melissa's got to walk 20 minutes to her car, so but the rest of us will stick around for a little bit if you have questions.